This is the intermediate to advanced dating class that I just presented at the Cache Valley Widower Conference. My name is Sharon Collier. I am a certified life and relationship coach. I am half of the Date to Your Potential podcast on Spotify. If you want to look it up, you need to actually search the Date to Your Potential podcast. I'm also half of Dating You or Dating University with Heidi McLean. This is a live and interactive class. If you are in the Salt Lake area or close by, we do a live and interactive class on dating. What's it like dating you and Dating University? We are just doing our freshman program. This is August of 2024. And if you would like more information on this, you can find me at Sharon Olson Collier on Facebook and message me, and I will get you a link to register. We have lots of fun in our classes, and they are informative. Okay, I decided to take this small excerpt from Dallin H. Oak's talk on divorce and turn it into um, a conference class on dating because the information was so good and I just expounded on it. So he talked about divorce and he talked about abusive situations and, unfaithful, unsupportive things. So, um, you know, in marriage. So I took this quote, which I'm going to read. The best way to avoid divorce from an abusive, unfaithful, or unsupportive spouse is to avoid marriage to such a person. If you want to marry well, inquire well. Associations through hanging out or exchanging information on the internet are not a sufficient basis for marriage. There should be dating followed by thorough and thoughtful courtship. There should be ample opportunities to experience the potential spouse's behavior in a variety of circumstances. Fiancés should learn everything they can about the families with whom they should be joined in marriage. In all this, we should realize that a good marriage does not require a perfect man and a perfect woman. It only requires a man and a woman committed to strive together toward perfection. So I'm going to start with the best way to avoid divorce from an abusive, unfaithful, or unsupportive spouse is to avoid marriage to such a person, right? So we're going to talk about knowing the hazards, the red flags, right? Watching for patterns in bad behavior. Bad behavior usually is patterns. If someone is trying to change the bad behavior, you can tell if it's not working because they will do it again probably in 2 to 3 weeks, even if they're trying hard. People don't generally change, but bad behaviors come in patterns, and you can, if you stop and watch, you can kind of see how that works. Are they committed and faithful while you are dating? Super important because you marry who you date. And behaviors really don't change just because a marriage certificate is involved. How do they respond to your hopes and dreams for the future? This should be exciting for them to watch you grow and develop and progress in life. If they already are feeling left out, if they act like they need to knock you down a couple notches, if they act like you can't do that, how do they respond to your hopes and dreams for the future? This can be a big red flag if it is not in a positive way. Okay, controlling behaviors. No one should tell you what to do, what to think, or what you are thinking, right? Someone who is trying to control things is just going to get worse in a marriage situation that it would be harder to escape from. So watch for these kind of things, and would be another pattern. If somebody had these controlling behaviors, if they don't want you to spend your money, if they don't want you around your family and friends, there's things that they want to be in control of, and those are common ones, the family and friends and the money ones, because first of all, your family and friends don't have rose-colored glasses on like you do. The money one, that is obvious if somebody is marrying you because you might make more money than them or because you're going to add to their income, but nobody should have a say in those kind of things. No name calling or labeling. Obviously, this is insulting, but labels as well. I dated one guy and he kept calling me a relationship phobe because I had concerns in the relationship and I wasn't progressing in the relationship. So he, instead of saying, "What are your concerns and how can I help you with those?" he just started labeling me. And he never really called me insulting names, but just these labels were a manipulation to get me to progress in the relationship when I really wasn't all that comfortable in doing that. So watch for those. Okay, there is a difference between reacting and responding. Okay, somebody who responds is going to most likely do that calmly. Reacting, of course, would be not calmly. So if there is an issue, how are they reacting? Are they responding to that? Are they asking questions? Are they apologizing? Or are they reacting? Are they blowing up? Are they retaliating? Are they telling you you're not that great? Just keep this in mind, reacting and responding. This is part of emotional intelligence. People drop that all the time and people aren't quite sure what that is, but this would be a part of emotional intelligence, how someone would respond to conflict or even a small adjustment. So just keep that in mind. Okay, if you want to marry well, inquire well. This means asking questions. Let me tell you something. Once a couple starts making out, they stop really getting to know each other. And so it's super important that you ask questions. It's also super important that you are comfortable asking questions. If you are in a relationship where you feel safe that you can ask questions, that is good. If you do not feel comfortable, if you're feeling like you are walking on eggshells, this is probably not a relationship you should be in. So let's explore this. Okay, I have divided it into three different stages because there's different stages of a relationship, right? So, stage one, in the beginning of a relationship, I call it establishing compatibility. Okay, when you're dating somebody, this is important to establish compatibility. Two people with a really, really, really strong physical connection, they don't think they need all this other stuff because they can mistake that for love. And we need to know that there's more components than a strong attraction. People think they have this magical connection. A lot of times it's just a strong attraction. Can they talk to each other easily about fun things? Yeah. Can they talk to each other easily about hard things? Probably not. So we're going to establish compatibility here. Fun. Okay. I have a yellow personality. If you've color coded, you know that yellow personalities are fun based. Um, Fun is an important component to relationships. Who wants a boring relationship, right? You need fun in friendship. So, what do you do for fun? Do you have the same idea of fun? And how much fun do you need? I'm an extrovert. I need lots of fun. Okay, morning person or night person? Can it work? Yeah, but if there's a bunch of other stuff going on, maybe the morning and night person isn't going to work if there's a bunch of other incompatibilities. Love languages, quality time, words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, touch. Hopefully everybody knows these. Knowing these is super important. The only problem with love languages is I call them opposing. If one person, let's say, is number one a quality time, but the other person is a number five quality time person, this is going to be an extremely hard relationship. This is how people give and receive love. So if one person is a quality time person and the other person has it down as a five, that number five quality time person is going to have to work extra hard to, first of all, understand why the other person needs quality time. And the other point is they're going to have to give them quality time. And they're really not a quality time person. So you can kind of see the lack of compatibility there. If they're on other levels, it's not quite as hard. And you should have some love languages that are the same. Maybe both of your number two is touch. They should be semi-compatible. Okay, of course, religion. Now, if everybody's LDS, we just assume that everybody's LDS. Do you go to church? Okay, you're active LDS. Not necessarily. Are you living our religion the same? Like church attendance, is that the same? Is that a priority? The temple? Where are these on your priority board? Keeping the Sabbath day holy, maybe scripture study. Are you kind of on the same page or on the same page enough with all that stuff? And this is not agreeing to do scripture study when you've never do scripture study or you've never done it. This is not agreeing to that because you want to get the person to marry you or to date you longer. This is what you really are. Honestly, people who hide things in dating situations just dig themselves in a hole, and you just really don't want to do that. Just be honest. It's just easier. Okay, holidays and travel. Um, family holidays, what do those look like? Are you a traveler or a homebody? I use my brother and sister-in-law as an example because she doesn't think that visiting family is a vacation. She thinks that's visiting family, where my brother thinks that visiting family is a vacation. So, are you on the same page with your leisure activities like this? And what do family holidays look like? I know in my marriage, I spent most of my family holidays at my husband's house. It just was funner, it was easier. There were kids my kids' age, and it was harder to go to my family's. So make sure that that is something that you are compatible with. Okay, dating goals. Are you on the same page? Are you chasing after someone who is just looking for friendships, where you're looking for a commitment or you're looking for marriage, and you're chasing after somebody who's just looking for fun and friendship? So when you start dating somebody, make sure you're on the same page with that. It's like, where are you kind of at with that? Are you dating for marriage or are you dating for friendships or are you dating to not be lonely? Make sure that's something you're on the same page with. Okay, core values. I never finished this. Loyalty, honesty. What are your core values and do they match? Um, this is obviously really, really, really important. So just make sure, and this a lot of times comes out in behaviors, not necessarily asking the questions. Observing. Are you service oriented? Um, or do you hate the service projects? Loyalty and honesty, obviously those come out in different kind of behaviors, but your core values definitely need to match up. Okay, food, similar ideas about food. My husband was the pickiest person on the planet, and there were about 8 different things he would eat. And so we would kind of rotate through those and get takeout in between, which he didn't always like. And he'd tell me, go to the kitchen and whip something up. And I'm like, I can't do that because you don't like anything. So did that part of us hurt the marriage? No, that part really didn't. It was just frustrating and hard for me. And actually, he kind of stepped in and did a lot of cooking because of it, as our marriage progressed. And of course, I have to ask the question, does pineapple belong on pizza? And interestingly enough, in the class, I would say more people said yes than no. Okay, hobbies, sports, and talents. Okay, hobbies especially. Are you willing to learn your partner's hobbies if they aren't the same hobbies? What a beautiful thing if the hobbies are similar or you start doing the same hobbies. But this is again leisure time, and you should be fairly compatible in this area, or at least be supportive of. If you're not going to join in, just be supportive of. Okay. Second phase. This is the phase I call gathering information. Of course, you have to gather information to see if you're compatible, but this is gathering the harder information, the deeper stuff. Past relationships. Are they divorced? Is there an ex? What's the ex like? The late spouse. How did you take the death? How was the marriage? Ask the questions. What was the best thing? What was the worst thing? What did you learn from your relationship? Very important things. Relationships with parents or family members even. Um, Something good to ask. What did you bring to the or what do you bring to the relationship that your parents did, maybe good or bad? Do you have mommy issues? I would say I have more mommy issues than daddy issues. If there are some of these issues, how are you going to work through these as a couple, or how is the person aware enough to go get help? But people who are good to their parents are generally good to everybody. And so that is a sign. They always talk about boys being good to their moms. That is a sign of someone who's going to be good to you. So watch the parental relationships. Okay, politics. Um, there's difference in parties, of course, and there's different intensities for politics. I know some people who are very intense about politics where I just am not. And how would that play out in the relationship? I don't care. I don't want to go to a Republican rally. Is that what they're called? Differences in parties. Is there enough agreement between the two of you on, can you agree to disagree? Is it the intensity play into it? Something to really talk about because that can get heated. Okay, conflict resolution. How do they handle conflict? Are they willing to handle conflict differently if they're not really mature about conflict? It's really a good idea to date long enough actually to have an argument or to have some kind of conflict that you need to resolve together. Um, Very, very important because some people take it completely different. We're coming from different backgrounds. Most of us are coming from different marriages. Um, and somebody's late spouse is going to handle things different than maybe your late spouse did. So this is something that you need to know in the dating situation. Okay, temperature control. Is that big a deal? Sometimes, yeah. Do you need to talk about it? Probably. Is it, it's find out how important that really is. My husband was a potbelly stove sleeping next to me. He was just this massive heater. Um, and, he liked the house warm. It's like I just sat there and sweltered. So it's important, it's important and it's not important. You need to find out how important that really is. How's that? Does commitment look the same to both of you? Um, are you calling someone your boyfriend or girlfriend, but you're not exclusive? Okay, commitment needs to look the same to both of you. You need to be on the same page with what this committed relationship looks like. And if we really talk about commitment, commitment isn't just naming a relationship. Yes, we're in a committed relationship. We're exclusive now. It's not that. Commitment, if you're committed to a person, that is showing up every day with your best efforts. Commitment. You are committed. You are in a committed relationship. So that is an everyday thing. Okay. Setting expectations. This is when you are more serious in a relationship, that you need to set the expectations, set the tone for the relationship, but really, what are the expectations? What does betrayal look like to both of you? That could be something different to both of you. Betrayal just isn't infidelity. Betrayal could be you're both saving for a big trip and one partner spends money on a new couch without asking the other. Um, there's all sorts of betrayal. Maybe your partner does not defend you to his family. That or her, that would be betrayal. So betrayal needs to be discussed. What does betrayal look like to both of you? Splitting chores, establishing how that's going to happen. By a second marriage, most everybody is, we have the working mom and the working dad, or the working wife and the working husband. How do we split up the chores? Is that established in advance? I'm going to say it should be. Combining homes, of course, where are you going to live? I don't know if everybody's familiar with the Golden Bachelor, but the whole time, um, you could tell he was this one lady that he ended up marrying, he was going for. You could tell that that was the lady. Or she was the strong front runner for the whole thing. Anyways, and so when they got engaged, they kept asking, where are you going to live? Because they lived in two different states. And they kept saying, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Well, guess what? They got divorced because they couldn't figure out where to live. This should be happening in the dating or engagement situation. Retirement. What does retirement look like? Hopefully you both have the same retirement goals. That's going to be hard if somebody wants to travel and somebody's a homebody, like we talked about before. This should be set. This is what retirement is going to look like. Maybe this is how much money we're putting away toward retirement, or this is how much money we both have toward retirement. This is a conversation that needs to happen. Finances, spending, saving, separate bank accounts, joint bank accounts needs to be established before marriage. A lot of people say, "Oh no, we still haven't figured that out. I still have my account and he has his, and we just kind of figure out who's paying." I recommend getting a joint account for all the bills, and you each put in an equal percentage of your income, and that's established on how much you really need to spend on mortgages, bills, insurances, things like that. So, but establish that before marriage. A prenuptial agreement, yes, that protects everybody. That protects everybody, and it protects the children. People who think that means their partner doesn't trust them are way off. A prenuptial agreement is always recommended in these situations. I know I would want to make sure that a good portion of my money went to my children, right? Sex, intimacy, definitely needs to be discussed before marriage. There's fears that come with that. There's insecurities. All those need to be discussed and probably resolved, because that really can hurt a relationship. Social media. What goes on social media and what stays private? Can you like a post from a member of the opposite sex after you're married or in a relationship? Things that we should discuss. Things that they didn't have to discuss 20 years ago, right? But you do now, because who wants to have a fight about Facebook, right? Okay. And this is a bonus, establishing your communication style. Okay. Set aside time to talk without interruption. This is just some communication tips. Make your message clear so that your partner hears it accurately and understands what you mean. Be calm and be aware of the tone of your voice. There's a good healthy tip. Talk about you want, need, and feel using I statements. I want, I need, I feel. I feel bad when you say this to me. I really want to save money for a vacation. I need you to pick up your socks. But talk about what you want and need by using these I statements. Listen to your partner, put aside your own thoughts for the time being, and try to understand their intentions, feelings, needs, and wants. So, in other words, put yourself in their shoes. If they are worried about something, if they are concerned deeply about maybe some of your behavior or something outside the relationship, put yourself in their shoes and see how that is really affecting them. Because if you understand them, if you are listening to understand, that's half the battle. Negotiate, and remember that you don't always have to be right. Share positive feelings. I really liked this suggestion. Share positive feelings with your partner, such as what you appreciate and admire about them and how important they are to you. Because if you are communicating something in conflict, they need to be reassured that you do love them and that you do think they're amazing and wonderful and that you are just working through a little issue. Okay, next one. Associations through hanging out or exchanging information on the internet are not a sufficient basis for marriage. There should be dating followed by thorough and thoughtful courtship. Okay, so here's some just general dating tips. Play the field. If you're just starting out, play the field. Playing the field teaches you so much. It kind of shows you what you want and don't want after you start discovering different personalities. Playing the field also might show you that maybe you're not ready to date or that maybe you're really ready to get serious. Okay, keep the first date short. This is establishing the first date, use it, do something fun, but keep it short because it's going to establish if you want to go on a second date. Do not go all out on a first date. Do not do concert tickets and fancy dinners and things like that. Just keep it short and simple. And this is right where we're establishing compatibility to see if we do want to go out again. Okay, do not get affectionate too soon. When I talk about love chemicals, which I talk about all the time, we know that when we're affectionate too soon, that we can mistake some of those great, wonderful hormones for real feelings. So let's not get confused too early in the relationship and try to decide if you're having real feelings or if your hormones are just going nuts. Okay, good conversation skills include listening to gather information and not dominating the whole conversation. I have this buyer-seller theory. If you listen to the podcast, the Date to Your Potential podcast, the buyer and the seller. The seller is selling themselves. They talk a lot. They talk a lot about themselves. They might be boastful and brag like they're selling, where the buyer is a confident and discretionary looker. They're gathering information, they're taking their time. So this is the time for you to gather information, and that requires listening. So do not dominate the whole conversation. Ask questions about the person, listen to the answers. Okay, remember that a relationship that starts out fast usually ends fast. So take your time. Relationships that starting out, people who start making out on the first date, man, it can fizzle out super fast because there's really no friendship and foundation for that relationship to thrive. It's all just hormones, and hormones change and die off in relationships. Okay, let's talk flirting. Okay, when you're flirting, you want open body language, right? Even if you're nervous, maybe fold your arms when you're nervous or stick your hands in your pocket. You want to be open. You want to be talking with your hands in an open way. So use open body language. Compliments. Everybody loves compliments and validation. So use compliments. Okay, and of course, touching, breaking the touch barrier. Oh, wow, you hate seafood too? Oh, hey, high five. There's all sorts of ways you can appropriately break the touch barrier, but touching is a good signal for people that, oh, they might be interested. And if you start combining flirting practices here, some suggestions here, then you can give a clear green light to somebody because ladies, guys want a clear green light. It's hard to ask people out. Okay, humor and teasing. Everybody wants to laugh. So if you're a funny person, be funny, be fun and funny. Careful with teasing that it's not a put down. Don't do anything personal, but you can be fun and tease, um, like banter when you're playing a card game. Think of that kind of teasing. That's not really a put down. Of course, eye contact. There's so many things you can do with your eyes. A friendly little wink, if they've said something funny or smart. Um, But extended eye contact is a good kind of way to show somebody that you're interested if you are extending your gaze, not in a creepy way, but yes, you can extend a gaze and kind of give a green light that way. Of course, smiling, you want to look friendly and happy. Asking get to know you questions, or I call it maybe pulling the, oh, I've always wanted to try that. Oh, wait, you know how to ski? I've always wanted to try skiing. Maybe we'll say water skiing because we live in Utah, most of us. Um, oh, wow, could you show me how to do that? Or just asking get to know you questions. Where did you grow up? If you're acting interested in somebody, they're going to see that you're acting interested. Or just telling them what you want. Oh my gosh, you're so fun. We should go out sometime. And ladies, if you want to give the ultimate green light, ask a guy out, but use this rule. Only ask him out once. If you are interested in dating a guy, this is not a friend thing where you can say, hey, can you be my plus one? This is asking a guy on a date. Be clear and make sure he knows it's a date, not a hangout. Ask a guy out and then put the ball in his court. Hey, I had so much fun tonight. Thank you for going out with me. Thank you for accepting my invitation, but I'm putting the ball in your court. If you want to go out again, I'm going to let you ask me out. But guys, if a girl asks you out on a date, she is interested. Okay, next one. There should be ample opportunities to experience the potential spouse's behavior in a variety of circumstances. Okay, this guy looks frustrated behind the wheel. Let's talk about it. Maybe what they're hangry. I know my children, I have 3 out of 4 hangry children. Can you handle that? Slow traffic? Are they impatient? Do they yell? Do they scream? Do they turn up the radio and dance? You want to see these things, right? Slow internet, tangled Christmas lights. That doesn't happen very often because they're so cheap you could buy new ones. But what are they like in these frustrating situations? What are they like when they're sick or injured? Or on the flip side, what are they like when you're sick or injured? Are they helpful? Are they frustrated? Are they impatient? It's something to think about. Okay, what are they like after a bad day at work? Is their behavior consistent? They had a bad day at work, but yet they're still good to you. Super important to see different situations at work, right? Okay, fiancés should learn everything they can about the families with whom they will soon be joined in marriage. Okay, what about the family? Family values should match. So in India, I didn't know this, I read an article about this recently. When they arrange marriages, they arrange the marriage to a similar family, a family that has similar, um, they're similar financially, maybe spiritually, so, and the values match. So this is really important. This kind of goes along with like especially with the church, are you on the same page with all that? So you should be on the same page with your value system and the families. Um, it's really hard, like say that you're married to somebody who's the only member of the church in their family. It's a hard dynamic to kind of work through, right? Can you handle the family quirks? This made me think of Parks and Rec, the character Gary. I think he was Gary or his name was Jerry. Anyways, it was one, but they called him the other. Anyways, they went to see him at his home. He was this tall, heavier, nerdy guy, and he's married to Christy Brinkley and has 3 gorgeous daughters, and they all sing eggs, bacon, and toast at breakfast. Anyways, um, family quirks. Some have family singing time. Some do weird things on the holidays, or some are like obsessed and see each other 3 times a week. Can you handle like all the fun little family quirks or the weird little family quirks, right? What is the tone of the family? I definitely blame my in-laws for my sarcasm. I don't think I was a sarcastic person. Their tone of their family, every single one of them, is super sarcastic. It's kind of funny. They're sarcastic in kind of a funny and entertaining way, but it's still sarcasm. What is the tone of the family? Are they super positive? Are all of them super positive? That would be amazing. Are they all super negative? Do they all play the victim? Do they have this victim mentality? Is the overlying tone the victim? Be careful with this one. What is the tone of the family? Because the family is important. Cultural traditions. Different cultures have different traditions, so it's important to learn about them. It's important to know them and, to see if you can roll along with all that. And time with family. This is important because one partner might want a lot of time with their family where the other partner doesn't necessarily care for the family, or they do, but they just don't want to spend every Friday night at game night with the family, or every Sunday, every single Sunday at Sunday dinner. Um, Time with the family is very important to talk about. Okay, in all of this, we should realize that a good marriage does not require a perfect man and a perfect woman. It only requires a man and a woman committed to strive together toward perfection. Okay, traits of a healthy relationship. You are on the same page about values and goals. We just talked about that. There is a strong sense of trust. Trust is so important. If you have trust issues from another marriage or another relationship, please get rid of that if you have a trustworthy person. You maintain your own identity. This kind of goes to, I used to tell my kids all the time, I'm mom, but I'm also Sharon. And if I can't be Sharon, I can't be a good mom. And this kind of goes in relationships too, in your marriage. If you can't be good on your own, you're not going to be good together with somebody. You spend quality time together and apart. Hopefully, you are supporting each other's hobbies away from each other. Hopefully, you're supportive of your husband going to play basketball at the church gym with the guys, or the husband supportive of the girl going out to chick flick, girl night. Very important that you are spending quality time together and apart, and supporting that. You encourage each other to grow and change. Growth and change should not be a threat to the relationship. That is a bad relationship if you feel threatened by your partner's growth and change, or if they feel threatened by yours. It should be encouraged, not made fun of and mocked, but encouraged. You can communicate your needs and wants. This is a safe place. We just talked about that too. If you can communicate your needs and wants and feel safe about it, that is a very healthy relationship. You respect differences even when you disagree. Agreeing to disagree, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with getting your partner's point of view and understanding that a little better. You share realistic expectations for the relationship. You've already talked about expectations. The expectations for the relationship are realistic. Um, that includes about sex. But I could tell a whole bunch of stories. I'm not going to, but realistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations are setting a person up to fail, and you don't want to do that. So hopefully you're sharing these realistic expectations. You both contribute your fair share. There is nothing more frustrating in a relationship than feeling like you are doing all the work. Okay, both people. Wouldn't it be cool if you were trying to outdo each other in contribution? That would be the ultimate to me, to have somebody, like a contest to outdo each other in serving each other. You honor each other's family ties and friendships. Super important. Super, super important. Even the weird friend. Unless the friend is toxic, um, the weird one is okay. So just keep that in mind, that you need to honor that. And you need to honor the you got to know the family, so you need to honor the relationship. Okay, man brain versus woman's brain. This is understanding your partner. And this is just kind of some fun facts. Okay, are we different? We sure are. Let's talk about men first. Um, Men speak about 7,000 words a day. Of course, an introverted man might speak less, or an extroverted man might speak more, but generally speaking, and this is general, men speak fewer words than women. We're going to talk about that in a second. Gray matter. Men have more gray matter in their brain. This is information and action. This is the policeman. This is the firefighter. This is why men choose those kind of professions, the military, where they have taken information and are, action oriented. So men do tend to have more gray matter. Women can do them too, of course, but this is why men choose this, generally speaking. Men physically have a larger brain. It does not necessarily mean anything about their IQ or anything. Their brain is just physically larger. Men can see in 3D. This is why they choose jobs like mechanics, doctors that can see the inside of a person. Where they see in 3D, they actually have a little step up in these kind of professions. they have better spatial and directional capabilities. They did a study where they had a man and a woman go through a maze, and then they had them do it again, and the men remembered um, way easier than the women did, and they completed the maze again much faster. Women tend to rely on landmarks and things like that, where men just kind of are directionally a little more advanced. Men's brain have compartments or like boxes. Um, this inhibits multitasking, although some men can. There's always the nurture versus nature thing. Um, but the compartments, men have a compartment for work. They might even have a compartment for their commute. They do a specific thing on their commute. There's a compartment for chores. There's a compartment for tending children. There's a compartment for time with the spouse or a TV, football compartment. They have all these compartments and they're in one compartment at a time. This is why when a man is playing football, it's a good time for the woman to ask for something, a favor or maybe some money, because they will maybe blow it off and just say yes because they are in a different compartment they than the asking for money compartment. But also, this is not a good time for them to tend children while they were in their TV football compartment because they are focused on the TV and the football game, not the child. So, you know, having them switch compartments. I'm not going to say it's a hard thing, but when they're in their compartment, they are in that compartment. Let's say they're in their piano playing compartment and you need them to take out the trash. Well, maybe wait and just say, hey, when you're done playing the piano, I have a few chores for you. Because then they have to switch. They have to go and then get into their chore compartment. So um, just keep that in mind. Men are compartments, one compartment at a time. And honestly, I think men have evolved. I've watched several men be able to multitask, and but generally speaking, their compartment versus women. Women speak about 20,000 words a day. I put this up at the conference, and a woman said, "Oh, there it is." Generally speaking, women speak more words a day than men. We just have a lot of thoughts that probably impulsively come out of our mouths. We have more white matter versus the gray matter, the higher order reasoning and thinking. And this just reminds me of um, boys and kind of their impulsiveness. Um, my son called me and he said, "Hey, we're going to do our longboards down the drag," which was um, the hilly parking lot at Pleasant Grove High School. And my mom alarm went off and went, "What?" They don't think ahead. And he came home all scraped up. Although he did think ahead enough to have one of his moms or his friend's moms clean him up and bandage him up before he came home because he knew I would have a heart attack. But yeah, a lot of times men don't think ahead to the consequence, like especially younger men. So where a woman would pick it apart first and go, "Oh, wait, if I did a longboard down the drag, I might crash and burn and hurt myself down at the bottom because I'm going too fast." That kind of thing. A larger hippocampus. Like literally, women do remember everything. When I talk about the hippocampus, I like to visualize a hippo standing on top of a file cabinet, like a little mini hippo, because our hippocampus registers all our information, like whether we see it on TV, it just gathers all the information and stores it. Horror movies, or something that scares us in person, all that information is stored. And this actually helps with our fight, flight, or freeze to help gather information, our amygdala to gather information to see if something really is a threat. But in this case, women take in and absorb more sensory and emotional information as well. So when men say that, she's going to remember this 10 years from now, or she can tell us about our fight from 25 years ago. Yep, she probably can because the hippocampus is actually larger. Um, and then, of course, women are generally speaking, better multitaskers. They can go back and forth from their left to right hemispheres in the brain, and and so they're not just one compartment at a time. There's a lot going on, going back and forth. And if you want to watch something really funny, I think it's called The Man Brain versus the Woman Brain. I think he's a pastor where he goes back and forth on the stage from the man brain to the woman brain, and every time he goes over to the woman brain, he goes bzzz, because there is just a lot going on in the woman brain at the same time. Does it make one better than the other? No, it doesn't. But understanding the man versus the woman is kind of like half the battle sometimes. Sometimes we don't fully understand, and it's like my husband would come home from work and I'd start talking, and maybe he'd used most of his words, and he was like, he said to me one time, he goes, um, "This always makes me glad I'm not a polygamist because I can't imagine two of you just shooting words at me every time I come home." And because I was getting all my words out, and well, that, and I hadn't talked to probably an adult all day. I was with the kids all day. But anyways, so just know that we are different. We are both awesome, and we're going to react to things differently, and we're going to do things differently, and that's okay. Okay, that is my presentation. Thank you for making it this far. You can find me at Facebook. My Facebook page is called Dating Again. Instagram, I'm dating.again. Of course, I am the Date to Your Potential podcast that is on Spotify. And my website is lovingagaincoach.com. I am on YouTube. I have a lot of the podcasts on YouTube. I have some videos on YouTube, which is called Dating Again. But because I'm not relevant enough, you probably have to do Dating Again, like WW Conference, or actually search for things that way to find the page. But people have found me, and go ahead and like my page. I like likes. Followers, they make me look important. And thanks again for joining in today.